What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more of the Chameleons and their 1983 album Script of the Bridge. Thank you again to Stuart. And indeed, we are jumping back to the first track of the album. Someone mentioned recently, like, oh, so you're not doing the opening track? And I was like, wait, what? And I think what happened is, if I'm recalling correctly, I started going through the Chameleons with an EP. It was like a single release. And then I think Don't Fall was one of the two tracks on there, but because I then learned that it was on their first album, I just jumped to that. But then subsequently, incorrectly thought I had already reacted to it. So, yes, I didn't skip over it on purpose, I assure you. And once again, thank you to Stuart for the Chameleons material. But yeah, we will jump back to the opening tune for this reaction, and then I'll get back into the sequence of songs in the back half of the album where we were. In any case, Don't Fall, it sounds like a normative, maybe not entreaty, but command, request. Obviously, it's the kind of thing you could say to yourself if you were really trying to lock in, like, don't fall, don't fall. And that might be more literal or more figurative, or meaning more immediate and physical, or more conceptual and idiomatic, which I guess the latter is what I'm more inclined to see this as. But yeah, I wonder if he is, or the narrator is, talking to someone else or themselves. I suppose you could direct it en masse, but I don't necessarily, I don't have any additional context in the title to think about, so let's just give it a listen. This is the Chameleons, the song is Don't Fall, and it's from their 1983 album Script of the Bridge.
In his autumn for the winter comes man's last mad surge of youth.
What on earth are you talking about?
It's a tune that, to me, it had a bit of this, like, post-punk energy, especially in the first half. It felt very post-punk. And then as it went on, it felt a bit more like new wave, and still with an edgy, kind of darker sound in that context. But yeah, somewhere between, like, post-punk and new wave rock. And again, very intense, and not only that, like, sonically, but also vocally. And I don't know, is this the first time we've heard him drop an F-bomb? I think it might be. But definitely, that moment really stood out. I don't know what's happening. It's like backs against the wall. I think is a reference to, like, screams of pain. But yeah, it feels like it's a very intense situation. And, don't fall. There's at least the possibility of falling. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to say that. So if your back's against the wall, that means you don't have many options. You are sort of impressed upon, and you are vulnerable. And these screams of pain, obviously, that is, harm, not just vulnerability. So there's phrases that I caught along the way, which it does sound very dire and intense, but I didn't get enough of the lines on a first listen to really know what's happening, like, narratively or, interpersonally. But again, I enjoy his voice. I was thinking, again, sort of this, like, post-punk meets, like, new wave sound. I was thinking it reminded me, like, a bit of, like, early kind of post-punk Ultravox, maybe a bit like early Echo and the Bunnymen. It was somewhere in that territory. And don't get me wrong, like, when I make comparisons like this, I'm aware maybe not everyone who's a fan of one band would enjoy a comparison like that, but when I make such comparisons, I do so in a positive manner, and I do like both of those groups, maybe especially the early stuff. But either way, I like the darker sound of this one, and I like the sonic progression, especially maybe the second half. Like, once it got a bit more atmospheric, like, edgy new wave rock, I really enjoyed that section. I enjoyed following the drums too. There were those snare flourishes at the end of the measures. There was, like, this, like, really fast, like, I think hi-hat rhythm. Eventually there was, like, a double time ride cymbal. So again, as someone who does key into percussion, I was enjoying the evolving configurations of the drumming. But yeah, really cool tune. I enjoyed that section where it did get a bit more minimal, and it got a bit more spacious, and, like, there was a bit more emotion to it, and I enjoyed the guitar playing throughout. So yeah, another top tune from these guys. I will now, for the next reaction, jump back to where I had been in the track listing of the album. Again, thank you to Stuart, as well as to the person who commented. And indeed, if I ever do something like that, just let me know, and I assure you it is not done intentionally. Again, my brain is just, feeble sometimes, and I don't remember things clearly. So let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.